So yeah, great. So off we go. So we're gonna, I mean, I was just saying, God, what am I going to speak to that camera? I just did a load of yin yoga at the weekend, and so this class is going to be kind of a bit the opposite. So it's going to be a little bit more based around toning and strengthening, but on the lateral movements. It's not going to be exclusively lateral movements. So we're going to work into the sides of the body. So the sides of the body, it's an interesting area of the body to get into, because I think, I mean, I'm speaking a bit from my own experience, but a lot of my own experience is that I'm either moving forwards. Well, I'm mostly in life, I'm moving forwards, but there's a sense of like bending forwards, moving forwards. Maybe there's standing still, but there isn't a lot of back bending happening, and there isn't a lot of lateral movement happening. Okay, so just something to reflect on. You know, I think one of the objectives of a yoga practice should be, to have a stronger opinion, one of the benefits of doing a yoga practice is to move through a wider range of movements than you would habitually do in your day-to-day life. So it's worth, I mean, this is kind of like occupational therapy. It's probably worth looking at what are your habitual patterns of movement, what kind of position are you often in when you're doing your work, you know, especially if you're doing 8 hours of work a day. Are you in a one position, and what effect is that happening on your body? You know, the most obvious one, if you're doing a lot of work on a computer, then this area, the upper body and shoulder, is going to suffer. Okay, but yeah, my experience is lateral movements can be very liberating because we don't do them that much. Okay, so it liberates the whole muscle chain down the sides of the body. So that's what we're going to look at. What else wanted to say? Yeah, I just wanted to mention that, I mean, it's probably because I was talking a lot about Chinese medicine at the weekend, but the Gallbladder Meridian runs down, I mean, this is another whole story, but it starts to the side of the eyes, 44 points, and it goes down through the sides of the body, and it comes out into the feet, point 44, the fourth toe. And it's quite interesting because in the spring from a Chinese medicine point of view is the time when the wood energy, which is the gallbladder and the liver organs and meridians, are activated. So we're sort of, you could say, tuning in with the season. Okay, so it's the sides of the body. And the wood energy in the body is very much associated with flexibility and adaptation. Okay, so we're going to start off though with a fairly passive pose. So I'd like you, if you can have a bolster, that would be ideal. Okay, but I'm really aware, at least Saskia, being in like an upstairs pub room, has probably not got one of those. So you're going to have to improvise. Okay, so what we want to try to do is to get some support, you know, up to including like 20 centimeters of support underneath the side of the body. So you could use a rolled blanket as well, okay, like that. Or you could even use blocks, but the trouble with blocks is they can be quite hard. Okay, so I'm going to just let you arrange some sort of support for yourself, okay? So you could use bricks. And then what we're going to do is we're going to sit sideways. So we're going to immediately go into a lateral movement here with the idea of the support coming into the lower ribs. Okay, so we're supporting the lower ribs. And you probably want to also support the head, although I've lost it. Okay. Yeah, so if you can, some sort of support like a cushion for the side of the head. So you come into this kind of position. So you're lying onto your side. And then to enhance this pose, you can take hold of the upper arm. So I'm taking hold of the upper arm in my lower hand. And you can gently tug like the forearm away from the pelvis. Okay, and that will help to bring a little bit of very gentle traction. So I'm just going to come out because these earpods are falling out. See what people are doing. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So I'd like you to close your eyes for a moment. This is pretty subtle pose, okay? It could be described as a subtle pose. The idea is it's a passive pose. So we're working with gravity and you're allowing yourself to be in the pose without efforting. Although you might want to introduce a little bit of what we could describe as tugging, sort of gently pulling on the upper forearm with the lower hand. So that will create a certain amount of traction in the shoulder joint, but you might even feel that right down into the sacrum. Okay. So we're lying on one side. You can introduce a little bit more of a rotation. So you're turning your chest almost towards the ceiling. That's fine. So it becomes a mixture of a lateral extension combined with a soft rotation. So you might want to explore that. Actually, after a while, I prefer to do it more like a lateral rotation. Yeah. And one thing I noticed when I was planning the class was that somehow rotations are tied in with these movements. Okay, so there is going to be a little bit of rotating happening as well. Okay, so there's a sort of relationship, but you can feel that in your body over the course of the session. So this pose, yeah, I think we're aiming to stay 2-3 minutes, more of a yin style pose, and looking to just spend a few moments to connect with yourself. So you might have had quite an active, busy day, or you might have been doing something that's absolutely not related to yoga before this session. So closing your eyes, allow your attention to start to settle down into your body, the whole body. And just, yeah, one other thing I wanted to comment is that often you'll find the first 10-15 minutes of a yoga session, actually you're not necessarily that present. It takes a bit of time for your attention and your interest to gather into your body and into your practice, you could say your practice of yoga. So it's not uncommon to feel even alienated from your body when you come to yoga, which isn't necessarily very pleasant. So I'd like to invite you to start to connect with the sensations, and particularly the breath, and particularly the in-breath. See if you can feel the in-breath moving into the upper side of the body, so like the upper lung, as it were. Imagine that filling. And we're going to take 5 more breaths on this side of the body. Okay, 5 more breaths where you can even slightly extend the inhalation. So you can draw, almost imagine that you're drawing the breath into the upper lung for the next 5 in breaths. Obviously, let the exhale happen. And then without disturbing yourself too much, so I wouldn't sit back up. If it's possible, turn towards the floor, ground your palms, and swing you just simply swing the legs round to the other side and then drop back into the pose on the opposite side. So you're staying with this energy of gravity, with this downward energy, but we're setting up on the opposite sides. You're supporting the lower ribs on the opposite side of the body. So you might start off very clearly in a lateral position. So your top side is on top of your lower side, but you could start to introduce a little bit of a rotation that suits you. You're gently dropping the top shoulder back. It's helpful to support the neck. Okay, so I do put between my lower arm and my head, I like to put some support. So I was using a block or a cushion or a folded blanket in that space. So the cervical spine almost is an extension of the upper spine or the rest of the spine. Okay. So I imagine this pose is familiar to everybody. I think we certainly did it. We've done it. Well, we do it on the teacher training, but I'm pretty sure we do it in the workshops. But yeah, it might be new. Okay. And letting the body rest back into the floor, this energy of grounding is going to be one of the very few more passive poses that we do. Okay, so enjoy, and I'd like you to tune in now with your mood. So we often talk about this field of awareness, the heart mind. So you could just ask yourself, how am I? Keep it simple. There's a sense of opening up to your experience in as fearlessly as you can, with as much kindness as you can, opening to your experience. You can, as I mentioned on the other side, you can gently tug the upper arm. So I like to get hold of the forearm just below the elbow. So I'm getting hold of like the fleshy part of the forearm. And I'm gently, mainly using the weight of the lower arm to drag the top arm across the forehead or across the head. So this pulling the bones apart is what we call traction. Okay, so it's a force that you can use to create a sense of space in the joints. In your yoga practice, you can use that a way of working, so just gently tugging away. But often in the more passive yin style poses, that is what's going on, as traction is happening across a joint or a part of a joint. So we're going to take 5 more breaths here. So I'd like you to emphasize somewhat the in breath, the inhalation, with the idea of filling. I mean, it's not going to be literally true, is it? But you can have a sense of literally filling the upper lung, enhancing the movement or the sense of opening in the upper side of the body, which is in extension. So we're in a basic lateral extension here. Softening your face, softening your eyes, softening your shoulders, releasing the neck, releasing down through the spinal column, or noticing if there's tension there. Awareness going into your pelvis, into your hips. and down through the legs into the feet. Okay, again, on your next exhale, try not to sit up. It's not necessary. So you turn towards the floor, grounding your palms, and then really gently moving round to all fours, and you push your gear out the way, and then you're going to drop back for a moment into child's pose towards the back end of your mat. Okay, so we're going to build up now a movement practice which will culminate in coming up onto the feet. But we're going to start off in child's pose towards the back edge of your mat. So I was just commenting in the group beforehand. Yeah, I mean, I think probably we're slowing down our classes, Sadhita and I, partly to accommodate working online, you know, but it's not to say that you can move faster in your own practice. I do want to say that it's not like we've got this thing about moving slowly. I think it's useful if you're learning and training, and but if you want to learn these sequences that we're doing and do them faster, that's completely fine. Okay. Exploring a more, rhythm in practice is really interesting. Okay. So on an exhale, I'd like you to extend your arms forwards. So you're still in child's pose. On an inhale, you come into all fours, tucking the toes under. And then we're going to dip down through the 8-point pose. So keeping the elbows tucked in, drop towards the chest, swing through into Bodhiyoga-15. Exhale, drop down to the floor. Inhale, come into all fours. Exhale, come up into dog pose. So it's part of a sun salutation. Okay, from here, inhale, we're going to do that again into all fours. Exhale, drop back to child's pose with the arms long. Inhale, come into all fours, tucking your toes under. Elbows staying tucked in, dipping down into 8-point pose, swinging through into Bhujangasana, low Bhujangasana. Exhale, release to the floor. Inhale to all fours. Exhale, dog pose, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. In your dog pose, lining up your head with your upper arms. Inhale, coming into all fours. Exhale, child's pose with the arms long. Inhale into all fours, tucking your toes under, lowering the chest down through 8-point pose as gracefully as you can. Coming into Bhujangasana, keeping the floating ribs on the floor. Exhale, release down. Inhale, all fours. Exhale, dog pose. Breathing now, taking a pause in the pose, being in the pose. On an inhale, I want you to bring your knees down. Exhale, inhale, bring your left foot forwards into a low lunge. Reposition your right hand down, and we're going to turn into a revolving lunge. Okay, nothing too dramatic. Sense of lengthening the waist, lengthening the spinal column. I want to see if you've got students, I was just talking to Sangeeta about this, that struggle with putting weight into the knee. You could do the same pose with the knee lifted, okay? That might be easier on the knee. Exhale, drop back into all fours. Inhale, exhale, back into child's pose, long arms. We're going to go back round the sequence. Inhale, all fours, 8-point pose, Bhujangasana. Lifting just to the floating ribs, exhale, release. Inhale, all fours. Exhale, dog pose. Inhale, all fours. Now the right foot goes forwards. Repositioning your left hand, so you've got that, you're going to take weight into your left hand. Your right hand can come onto the sacrum and you lengthen through and turn, lengthen through the spine and turn the head possibly. If it's not okay on your neck, just look down, that's fine, or look out to the side. And as I say, you could go for a high lunge, twist there. Exhale, releasing down, all fours. Drop back, child's pose, long arms. We'll go back round the sequence. Inhale, all fours, tucking the toes under, dipping through. 8-point pose, Bhujangasana. Lifting through the front of the body, exhale, release. Inhale, all fours. Exhale, dog pose. Pushing back from the hands towards the sitting bones. Okay, we come down to all fours. And, gosh, it's the left hand, isn't it? Left foot comes forwards. Right hand grounds. Turning again. Okay, this time I'd like you to take your left arm up and take it forwards. So you're going to look out towards your left hand. So you're looking down, it's fairly gentle, looking down your left arm, sense of lengthening through your left side, breathing there, grounding the left foot. Exhale, release to all fours and back. Child's pose, long arms. Inhale, we'll come back through the sequence. So all fours, tucking the toes under. 8-point pose. Bhujangasana. Exhale, release. Inhale, all fours. Exhale, dog pose. If you want, just stepping your right foot forwards this time, dropping onto your left knee. Grounding your left palm. So you're going to take your weight into that length and through the spine. Taking the gaze out to the side, and we're going to take the right arm up and reach forwards. Taking the gaze towards the right hand. So it's a low lunge twist with the arm extended. Pretty gentle, okay? A sense of grounded right foot. Weight into your left arm. Lengthening through your right side. As you exhale into all fours, drop back into child's pose. Inhale, all fours, tucking the toes under. Last time for now, Bhujangasana, into Bhujangasana. Exhale, release down. Inhale, all fours. Exhale, dog pose. Okay, then I want you to keep your hips high, but step your right foot forwards and turn your left foot out. So it's more or less parallel with the short edge of your mat. And on an inhale, we're going to come all the way up. So we're going to take the foot base a little bit wider, if it's possible, or longer, should I say, longer. And we're going to bend the front leg. So this would be the right leg. On an exhale, on an inhale, you can straighten it just a couple of times to check that you're lining up your knee over your ankle. Exhale, we straighten the front leg. Inhale, bend the front leg, coming into more or less a right angle. On an inhale, we'll take the right arm up. And on the exhale, we place the forearm onto the right thigh. Adjust your foot base. So this is Salamba Pajvakonasana. From here, so you can keep your a sense of pressing through the right forearm, lifting and turning the chest. So the left arm is staying down at this stage. And then from there, inhale, reach up, left arm, and then across. It's like going across your forehead. So you could turn and look towards your left hand. That's a very kind of Ashtanga Vinyasa Drishti. So it's like the gaze point shifts, right? So I'm looking towards my left hand, or you could, as it were, look up underneath your left shoulder, left armpit area, which is probably, yeah, it's different. Yeah, I'm not sure it's easier on my neck or different. Could explore those two positions. Breathing now. Okay, on an inhale, we're going to sweep back up to center and change the feet round. So you're going to go over to your other side. So I've now got my back foot turned in, parallel with the short edge of my mat, and left leg turned out. I mean, I can't see everybody that clearly, so if the lefts and the rights are different, that's fine. Okay, so we're going to bend the front leg towards the right angle and then come back on the inhale a couple of times to check that you're lining up you're tracking your left knee in line with the ankle. So this is really useful if you're working with beginners. This small vinyasa is really helpful, so people take care of their knee. Okay, next time you come down, stay there. Inhale, we reach up into the left arm and even open up the left side of the body a little bit and bring the left forearm down. I suggest you look down to begin with. Adjust your foot space, a sense of sufficiently wide and sufficiently stable. So often those two things contradict. So if you want more stability, it might help to go a bit shorter base. And then turning the chest away from the left thigh, pressing through the left forearm. We're going to reach up right arm and across. So this is sometimes called the lateral side angle pose. So in theory, it is stretching the right side of the body to a certain extent. You can play with the drishti, the viewpoint. So I'm looking up now underneath my right shoulder, or I could look towards the right hand. You can play with that. So it affects the balance, it affects what's going on in your neck, and as a consequence, it affects the whole pose, actually. Okay. Breathing now. On an inhale, we're going to swing back up to center. Now turn the feet to parallel to each other, facing forwards. Breathing there. So we're going to take this one step on now. So we turn back to the first side and adjust your base. Okay, on an inhale, right arm goes up. On the exhale, coming down into Salamba, Vajrakonasana, we're looking down. So we're now going to reach down to the outside edge of the foot. So the fingertips are on the outside edge of the foot. So if that feels like a long way to go, the obvious thing here would be to bring some bricks into play. Okay, so it's fine. If you want to come out for a moment, grab some bricks, put some bricks down, so the hand comes to the bricks, then go for that. Okay, and then come back into position. So I'm bending to the right, and then the left hand goes up again and across. And gosh, I've run out of space here, so I'm using a wall. Actually, can be helpful. I'm going to move across, and again the drishti. So you can look up underneath your left arm, or you can look towards your left fingertips. Try to keep the right inner groin open and the right leg pressing back towards the right arm. Okay, from there on an inhale, then straightening the front leg, coming up, whichever way is the most graceful possible, turning to the front, and then turning to the opposite side. In my case, it's my left. Left arm floats up, and left forearm floats to the left thigh, adjusting the feet. Okay, so this is a more challenging position. So I'll just show you with the bricks. So I got told off for not doing enough demonstrating of variations at the weekend. So I'm demonstrating now. Okay, there's the bricks. Okay, so if you're working with beginners, you're going to probably be using bricks here. Okay, so I'm coming down into Salamba, Padvakonasana, and then I'm going to reach down to the bricks or to the floor. Okay. So Salamba Padvakonasana, the previous position really feels quite comfortable, and when you come into this, it's more challenging. Okay, it's more challenging across the groins. Take your right arm up and across. So this is moving towards the full expression of Utthita, which means intense. Pajvakonasana, side stretch. Breathing there. So you can take the gaze up underneath your right armpit area, shoulder, or explore taking the gaze to the right hand, fingertips. Breathing now. So you can explore dropping down into the space. You want to try to keep the left groin open, so the left leg moving towards the left arm. On an inhale, we're going to come up. Turning now back towards the forward end of your mat. So we're going to bend the front leg, come down and step back into dog pose. So I've got those bricks, they've just been struck away. Inhale, coming into all fours. Exhale, dropping back into child's pose. Inhale, coming into all fours. Tucking the toes under, we're going to dip through the 8-point pose. Into Bhujangasana, low Bhujangasana, no stress for the lower back. Exhale, release down. It's more of a strengthening movement. Inhale into all fours. Exhale, back to dog pose. Once again, step your right foot forwards. Come all the way up. So my right foot is still facing, parallel with the long edge of my mat. My left foot, I'm turning more or less parallel to the back edge of the mat, the short edge. So we're going to come into another pose. Sometimes this is called like the reverse warrior. So I want you to just play with bending the front leg so the knee comes over the ankle. Do that a couple of times. It's also, I mean, it seems like you're not doing much, but actually it's a strengthening movement for the thigh, so it's beneficial. Okay. So next time we exhale, we come down to more or less, well, it's a bent leg. I'm not going to say a right angle because I could just see on the screen I have not got a right angle there. That's fine, okay? Doesn't have to be a right angle. Okay, so I'm going to take my left hand behind me and I'm like leaning back towards that hand. So I'm deliberately opening the right side of the body. And then I'm going to reach back with the right arm as much as is possible. So you're sliding your left hand down the back leg and you're taking your right arm up. It's quite intense. Huh? Breathing there. So just take a few breaths, 3 to 5 breaths, exploring the pose. It's really going to depend on your lateral flexibility, how much you get into as it were, a lateral band here. So it might feel quite restricted. Okay, that's fine. Okay, on an inhale, when you come into the more classic warrior, so the spine comes towards the vertical, I'm turning my left palm up and I'm looking down my right arm. Breathing there, maybe exploring sinking a little bit into the space between the feet, separating the distance between the feet. Breathing there. Okay, exhale, dropping the arms, turning your feet towards the front. Have a pause. So I'm aware that we're doing quite a bit of work on the feet, holding the pose. As I said, I did so much yin yoga at the weekend. I'm a bit yinned out. Okay, so turning the left leg out, right leg in. So this is going to obviously be more toning, it's more yang, we could say. So just playing with bending the front leg and exploring, getting that angle, which really the angle is based on the shin coming to perpendicular. And then you're moving towards a right angle. That's like idealizing the pose. Most people are going to have their thigh bone, their femur more, as it were, slanting off. Okay, next time we come down, we'll stay there. And then we're going to look back towards the right leg, in my case, the back leg. Slide the hand down the back towards the foot, and then open up the left side of the body. You can even reach back, or even look down towards the back foot. That's another drishti. You could also look up, which is the way we did it on the other side, but explore. Maybe it's better for you to look back towards the back leg. So what you'll feel is extension in the left side of the body, and you'll feel compression in the right side. Breathing there. Opening the left side of the body. So we're going to follow an in-breath to come into the more conventional warrior pose. So I'm turning my back palm up. So this is resembling the javelin thrower. I'm looking down my left arm, maybe exploring, dropping into the space more between the feet. So you might want to, depending on your stability, separate your feet wider. The idea is to float the arms back shoulder height. There's a sense of verticality in the spine. So you'll be feeling your legs work here, particularly around the groins, the thighs, powerful muscles in the body. Exhale, dropping the arms for a moment. Turning your feet towards, again, the front edge of your mat. So I'm just trying to keep a little bit of form here. We bring the hands down, back into all fours or dog pose. Lengthening through the sides of the body. Inhale into all fours, drop back into child's pose with the arms long on the exhale. Inhale into all fours, tucking the toes under, coming through 8-point pose, Bhujangasana. Exhale, releasing down. Inhale into all fours, dog pose. Stepping again, your right foot forwards, okay? Coming up. Have a little bit shorter distance between the feet this time. So drawing the feet in, hands onto the hips for a moment. So that we're going to do triangle pose. It's really common yoga pose. So both legs stay straight, but it does work the sides of the body. So I want you to take your right arm up And then reach out to the right, pivot, turning the pelvis to the right, and bring your hand down to your right shin, or may come down just below the knee. Or if you're not that flexible, you'll be taking it to the thigh. So you can look at your students and see what they do. And then we're going to take the left arm up. But I want you to reach across. It's a slightly weird version of triangle, but we're emphasizing lengthening also the left side of the body. So the left arm is coming to parallel to the floor. I'm still aiming to turn the chest to face out to the side. Breathing there. So my left arm is parallel to the floor. My right arm is sliding down towards the foot. I'm opening the left side of the body. Back leg is grounded, both legs straightening. Okay, from there, we're going to bend the front leg, drop to the floor. Come back into dog pose or force. Exhale into child's pose, long arms. Inhale into all fours. And through 8-point pose. Bhujangasana, exhale. Down, inhale all fours. Exhale, dog pose. Now step your left foot forwards. Shorter distance between the feet. Coming up, bring the hands to the hips. Turning to face the long edge of your mat. Left arm goes up. You can even reach back a little bit. Reaching to the right, and then exhale. Turning the pelvis to your left. Bringing your left hand down to your right. Thigh, knee, shin. And then your right arm, should I say, across. So I'm looking down. You could explore looking towards your right hand here. The drishti, the viewpoint, could be down towards the left foot, or even to the side, or towards the hands. There's at least three possibilities there. And as I say, your viewpoint will affect the neck, will affect the overall feeling in the pose. Aiming to bring sense of quietness into the pose. I'm just having a look. So yeah, you're aiming to turn your chest towards the long edge of the mat, like the classic triangle. Okay, and then we're going to bend the front leg and turn towards the floor as gracefully as you can. Step back to dog pose. Inhale, come into all fours. Exhale. We're going to drop back fully into child's pose. Let's take the child's pose where the arms thread through the inner legs. This is something I just picked up off Sadhita recently. So there's a sense of gentle pressure on the outer arms. So you get this nice release for the deltoids. Breathe there. Okay. That's it. So that's a standing sequence. I mean, you could add more. I think like the side the standing poses do lend themselves to this side work, lateral movements. Okay, at least the poses which are done in one plane, like facing the long edge of the mat. Okay, the ones we've done there. Okay, on the inhale, I want you to sweep your arms forward, come into all fours. So we're going to approach this pose in a couple of ways, okay? So I want you to bring your right knee forwards and come down onto your right forearm, okay? So my right knee is forward, so I'm keeping the knee in line with its own hip, and then I'm turning onto the side, inner edge of my left foot. And then I'm turning to my side. So I'm in like a low plank, but I'm using my right knee as support as well. Is that making sense? Okay, let me just describe coming into it again, because that's a bit weird. I'm aware of that. So I'm in all fours. I take my right knee forwards. I drop onto my right forearm. And then I turn and rest onto the inner edge of the left foot. And then bring the left hand onto the hip. Is that making sense? Should be fairly straightforward, okay? And if you've got your balance, again, you could look down or you could look out to the side. Take your left arm across. So we're making a long line between the left hand and the left foot. Breathing there. Again, and releasing down. Coming into all fours. Taking, just for a moment, dog pose. Coming into all fours. Now the left leg comes forwards in line with its own hip. I'm dropping down onto the left forearm, again in line with its own shoulder. I'm turning the right leg out. So the inner leg is resting on the inner foot is resting on the floor. And then I'm turning and trying to balance for a moment on the left forearm, left knee, and inner right foot. So if you've got your balance, you take your right arm across and reach across. You could look towards your right hand, or you could look underneath your right shoulder, or you could look down or look out to the side. So there's 4 possibilities there. Breathing out, breathing in. Okay, and then releasing down. Coming into all fours, taking dog pose. Okay, now we're going to swing round to rest the right buttock on the floor, and I'm gathering up my legs. This is a bit like the first position we did. We had the bolster underneath us. You can probably imagine where we're going to go. We're now going to drop down onto the right forearm, okay? And then you're going to move your legs back a little bit. So we're going to come up into a side plank position. So all I want us to do now, so we're resting onto our right forearm, is lift the pelvis off the floor. Is that making sense? So you're bringing your knees, hips, shoulders into one line. Breathing there. And then if you've got your balance, you can extend your left arm across in the same way we've been doing. Across the forehead. Breathing now. Keeping a sense of stability. Obviously, this is challenging. So if it's not good on your neck, look down. This is challenging for the upper body, but we're working through the sides of the body. Breathing now. Side plank is a version of side plank. Breathing now. Okay, and then releasing now. So drop the hips, drop the hand to the hip. And swing round very gently to all fours. Probably good to have a little stretch out into dog pose, okay? And then dropping down onto, it's like I'm dropping onto my left buttock. My left hand stays where it is. I'm facing now away from the camera, but okay, so I'm going to move my legs a little bit back so they come more in line with the upper body. Drop down onto the left forearm. My right hand, I'm going to rest it on the right hip, and then I'm going to lift the pelvis. So we'll come into a straight line. Knees, pelvis, shoulders. You could describe this as a version of the side plank. breathing there. If I've got my balance, so you could play with the alignment. So I'm just bringing my left forearm a bit more underneath me, underneath the left shoulder. I'm going to take my right arm across. Again, you could play with the gaze. You could look towards your right hand. You could look to the side. You could look underneath your right arm, the area, upper arm area, or you could look down. So play with that. Probably 5 or 6 breaths here. So this is supposed to be really beneficial for the lower back. Create psoas, creating stability and sort of evenness across the lower back area. Okay, we're going to drop the arm down, the hips down, carefully, as graceful as you can, coming round to all fours. And yeah, dog pose, just briefly opening out both sides of the body. And then again, rest down. This time, the arms come in between the legs with the child's pose. And the forehead down. Breathe there. And just rest. So just rest there. I've got no idea if you were following the setup, but hopefully you were. Otherwise, you can check back later. Okay. So that's the side plank that I wanted to do. Okay, good. So we're going to move into a slightly quieter phase. So on an inhale, coming up to sitting, and then, well, I'm going to turn around to face the camera, and we're going to do simple cross leg. Okay. And yeah, this is where some sort of blocks or support could be useful. So we're going to put them on our right side because there's an option here. So you're lengthening both sides of the body. We'll reach up to both arms, and then we're going to tip out to the right. So the right arm comes down to the floor, right hand, so it comes down to the floor. And then you're trying to keep your left buttock down and reach out to the left. So you might want to do this, but on the forearm. So it's a more passive stretching of, I mean, I personally prefer to rest the forearm onto something, my right forearm, and then lengthen out. But you could just as well do this, a simpler version, where you just take your hand, okay, out to the side. Okay, so there's 2 options with the arm there. So the challenge for the pose is to keep the left buttock down as you reach to the right. So the left buttock's going to want to float up. It's a powerful stretch, very simple, but it's very powerful, especially for, there's a group of muscles called the quadratus lumbarum, which run off the back lower ribs onto the top of the pelvis. So that kind of square shape. So if you just imagine that section at the lower back, so running off the lower ribs towards the top of the pelvis, there's a group of muscles called quadratus lumbarum. So we're stretching, in this case, the left side. Okay, and then on the inhale, very gently come up. So I find that area really quite sensitive. So I'm just going to have a pause in the upright position. So this area I'm talking about is that lower back area. And then I'm going to go over to the other side. So the left hand now comes down. And I reach up and across with the right arm. Again, all that I've said about the gaze, you could play with. You could look towards your left hand. You could look forwards, towards, as it were, looking forwards. Or you could look up. Or you could look, as it were, out to the side. Up underneath, as it were, the right upper arm area. there. So it's like four gazes. Down to the side, up, or across the upper arm. Okay, then release back up to center. Have a pause. Breathe out, lengthening. In a very easeful way, a sense of balancing up both sides of the body. Softening the shoulders, lengthening the spinal column. Okay, and then a slightly more intensified version. So I want us to thread the legs into Gomukhasana. So obviously, if you're working with more beginners, you're not going to do this probably, or you might try. Okay. So what this does is really anchor the hips down. I just want you to connect with that for a moment. It's rooting into the pelvis. So apparently, I read somewhere that this is a meditation pose in some traditions, or Raja Yoga traditions. And then, but what it does do is it really gets a sense of the sitting bones rooting down. And we're going to do exactly the same thing. So first of all, just to say, you could go to your left or to your right, okay? I've got my right knee on top and I'm going to go to my right, but you could do the opposite, that's fine. So I'm going to go out to the side and extend the top arm up and out to the side as well. Really being aware of the side body. And in this case, the left sitting bone being rooted. Breathing there. Exploring the sensations in the pose. Where are they? Are they pleasant, unpleasant? I have to say that, for whatever reason, I find this, I know it's beneficial, but it feels unpleasant for the lower back area. Okay, and on an inhale, so we could stay longer out. Inhale, come up. We're going to release the legs. You could do the other side, but we're going to change the legs first before we go to the other side. Okay, so I've now got my left leg on top, but it's whatever you've got, that's fine. You're just going to do everything the opposite. So I'm now going to go to my left. I've got my left knee on top. I'm going to go to the left. So first tipping out, checking that there's a sense of the shoulders in line with the hips. And then the upper arm, I can extend up and across. I can play with the gaze. To find a position which feels good on your neck, feels beneficial, nurturing, feels okay for your neck, doesn't feel like it's straining your neck. So unfortunately the neck muscles, really powerful muscles. I mean, we could be thankful that the neck muscles are powerful because they're keeping your head on your shoulders. But unfortunately, they can really accumulate a lot of tension. And it's quite interesting, the Gallbladder Meridian that I was mentioning earlier, there's a point in the top of the shoulder called, well, it's point 21, which corresponds as well, similar to like a trigger point. It's a really sensitive point. If you press down on it, I can feel it being activated here. Certainly with the upper arm, within the fleshy part of the top of the shoulder. Okay, on an inhale, come up. Yeah, this point 21 is just, yeah, in there. That point in there, you'll know it. It's unpleasant to press down on, but it helps to release the neck. And then point 20 is just in the, if you go up to the occipital ridge, towards the outer edge of the occipital ridge, there's a point there. That's number 20 on the Gallbladder Meridian. Feels like it's almost like the muscles run off there into the top of the shoulder. Okay, we're going to release the legs and take the legs wide. Yeah, we've done this. We did this pose. Well, actually, we just did this pose coming forwards, but we're going to move into a lateral movement. So I suggest if you just went to your left, then go to your right. Okay, so we're going to go towards straight legs. So I want you to bend the other leg. And so be aware that you're going to go to the opposite way that you just did. So I just went to my left, I'm going to go to my right. My right leg is straight. I'm going to bring some support in. You want to try to separate the shin bones, the thigh bones as equally as possible. My pelvis is facing forwards, okay, towards the long edge. I'm then going to turn towards the bent leg. I'm introducing a little bit of a twist. I'm going to extend my forward arm up, it's my right arm, and tip out to the right, coming down to the leg or to bolster. If I can, take a hold of the big toe. It's not necessary. So my palm is facing up. And then playing again with the gaze. Is it better to look towards the foot or it goes down, or can you look forwards, maybe look up? And then we can take the top arm up. It gets very intense, this pose. I mean, some of you are going to be able to get hold of the foot with your top arm and gently ease your way in. But it really depends on your lateral flexibility. So it's probably not a good benchmark if you're not reaching it. Okay, because you're just going to create a lot of stress if you've got to try and get hold of the foot with both hands. You could use a strap here, but we're not. Okay, so I'm letting the top arm, in my case, it's like free floating a bit. But I am turning towards a twist. Okay, so this is sometimes called Parabrita, which means revolving. Parabrita, revolving. Janu Sukhasana, knee to head pose. Okay. Again, I'd consider this quite an advanced pose. Yeah, if I was teaching beginners, I'd probably get them to bring a straight arm down on the right side and then explore opening the left side of the body. So if you're teaching beginners, don't go into the full expression of pose because it can just create a lot of stress in the lower back. Okay, on an inhale, come up carefully. Again, listening into, that quadratus lumbarum. I'm not, your quadratus lumbarum might be completely fine, but like a delicate area in my body. So taking the legs to the opposite side. I'm opening the thigh bones equally. I'm going to use support. It comes across. But I'm keeping the straight legs slightly active as well. And then I'm going to turn towards the, as it were, the short leg, the folded leg. So this helps to actually, the twist feels like it helps to open up the sides of the body to a certain extent. And in terms of alignment, it helps to line up the body. So the left arm, my forward hand floats up, and then I move out to the left. Okay. And so if you're going to rest your forearm either onto the bolster or to the inner leg or on top of the leg, straight leg. And then, as I say, the top arm is extra as well. So with a beginner, you might just go to here, straight arm, either forwards or back. So it could be a beginner's pose, but you take it this far. If you're going to go deeper, well, if you can go deeper, you take hold of the foot and then you can take the arm across. Okay, the top arm. So similar hand-arm position and gaze position to what we've been doing in the standing. You could look down, look to the side, look up underneath your upper arm area, or even look towards the hand. So I'd say there was 4 obvious drishtis. Yeah, I mean, I would pick one rather than move around them. Breathing there. So just check in, ask yourself, where is this pose most evident? And what's going on? Is it okay? Does it feel risky? If it feels too risky, we'll back off. Yeah, breathing there. So I am keeping my straight leg a bit active. Breathing. Okay, from there, on an inhale, again, we could stay a bit longer, but we're going to bring the legs into an easy cross, Sukhasana, and take a pause there in Sukhasana, resting the hands into the lap, perhaps. Growing your spine, so feeling this work that we've been doing, moving from left to right to left to right. We've now done 3 sets there, 3 poses. We did the easy cross, we did Gomukhasana legs, and then Shavasana legs. Okay, from there, slightly move your support again out the way. So just check the time. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna finish with, again, a little bit more of an active pose. So I'd like you to come into all 4s and then come into, into all 4s. And then bring your knees, your inner knees together, okay? And then I want you to swing your left leg back and bring the sole of the foot towards the floor. If you can, you bring your left leg in line with the right leg. And then swing your weight into your right side and pick up your left hand. So we're in a halfway position to Vashisthasana. So if you, one thing you can look at is the hand, the lower hand position. So it's actually, if you can get it lined up more or less underneath the shoulder, it'll be easier. If you want more stability, so with beginners, you bring your left foot forwards, okay? So I'm going to go for a more challenging position, which is the left leg in line with the lower leg, okay? And then again, you can reach up. So, and look up even, depends on the neck. Huh? If it doesn't feel okay on the neck, look down and look to the side, okay? And then come down into all 4s, try on the other side of the knees, inner knees together, switch sides. So it's helping me to bring my left hand closer in to the left knee and then opening up onto the opposite side. I'm even turning my right foot out a little bit to accommodate grounding the right foot. Breathing now. Okay, good. Coming down. Okay. Now coming into all 4s and then into dog pose. So we're going to do a variation of Vashisthasana. Sometimes not everybody likes this, but I want you to turn your left foot out, ground the left foot, and then we rest the top of the right foot on top of the left foot. I'm just wondering if I can make that easier to see. Probably not. So I'm just going to describe it again. I'm turning my left foot out and resting the top of the right foot on top of the left foot. And then I'm swinging the hips round into Vashisthasana. So the weight is going into the right arm now. And I'm breathing. I can press the right foot towards the floor And I'm grounding the left foot. So it's quite active for the side of the body. That's probably enough for me on that side. Come back to dog pose. I'm now turning the right foot out. Top of the left foot on the floor. And swing round. Really, the gaze, again, exploring that way. It's strong on the supporting arm. Maybe everything's shaking now. Okay, coming back into dog pose. Let's just have a pause or force. Just sit back on the feet for a moment. So I just want you to have another go, and I'm going to try to see if I can see what's going on. Okay, so come into dog pose. You turn your left foot out and ground the foot, and then you place the top of the right foot on top of, that's it. And then you swing into it. That's it. Yeah, Ruth, you got it. Yeah. Hang on a minute. No, keep your left foot grounded and the right foot grounded, and bring your weight into your left hand. That's it. That's it. Ruth's got it. Yeah. And okay, and then swing to your other side. It's tough on the arms and the wrists, I have to say. If it's, I can feel my wrists now. So if the wrist is really big issue, you would come onto your forearm, do the side plank like we did earlier. I mean, I didn't hold it for very long, like 3 seconds. But you could, it's just a question of practice. So let's rest down into child's pose. Bring your arms through the legs again. So I was talking to, I'm quite fortunate that the father of my, as it were, my wife's first son is osteopath, physiotherapist. He lives opposite, so he just moved opposite. But we were having this conversation today about weight bearing and exercise and human body in zero gravity, human body in gravity. So it's quite interesting, but basically your bones respond positively to stress, okay, and weight bearing, and they thicken up. And so he's got an martial arts background. He was saying a lot of training, all this blocking and business. I mean, I've not done it myself with the forearm. Eventually you build up a lot of bone density in the forearms and the hands, and which is beneficial. Okay, so that's on the weight bearing. And what's been observed is with astronauts, for example, is they literally suffer from osteoporosis. So with time, up in space, zero gravity, the body it loses its density. So it's an interesting case to be made for doing exercise, weight bearing exercise, moving. Okay, so we're going to come now into, time is up. Into Shavasana. Okay, so I'm going to just lead you in. I know we've been finishing with meditation, but we're going to finish, because that was quite an active class. We'll finish with Shavasana. What I would suggest with Shavasana is if you have got some sort of roll, you put it up underneath your legs, under your knees, and then some support for the head. And I'll just lead in a little bit. Make sure you're going to be warm enough so you don't have to move because you're cold. So layer up. And we're going to lie down. When you lie down, gosh, I even got told off for not leading a thorough Shavasana at the weekend. God, good to get feedback. So just to say this, So yeah, lying in Shavasana is a pose, right? So it does need a bit of attention. Particularly make sure you come into a straight line, more or less straight line. And remember that there's 3 adjustments you can make on your spine. So the first one is lengthening the lower spine. So what I do is I tuck the pelvis towards the feet. You can then expand the upper back body, just like I do a little self-embrace. And then I lengthen the neck, okay, which is like sometimes described as drawing the chin down, but it's more like picking up the head and moving it away from the shoulders. So you can do those things to your spine, just lengthening the waist, broadening the back, and lengthening the neck. Okay, and then I'm resting. Like more recently, I'm enjoying resting the hands onto the body. So I'm actually turning the upper arms inwards a little bit, resting the hands to the palms to the hips. It's quite a contained position. So softening the hands. So I'm gonna lead, if that's okay with you guys, I'm gonna lead this. So you can thank my Spanish students for this. And but if you've got to get on and do other things, then you can just carry on, you know, if you need to go on. So I'm going to just switch the camera. So yeah, I'm going to give it, so we'll just go through to another 10 minutes or so. So it'll be 1/2 the hour. That's okay. If you do need to get on, then just get on. That's fine. So while we're here, so we're going to go more systematically through the body from the feet upwards. Okay. So we've made those 3 adjustments on the spine. So before we get into like the details of what's going on in the body, I'd like you to generate or connect with a whole body experience. A whole body experience. If you can get a sense of the whole body from the top of the head to the soles of the feet. There's a sense of like englobing. What's the word in English? It's like, yeah, enveloping the whole of your body, as it were, your body sphere with your mind sphere, your awareness sphere. So you can imagine sort of, yeah, enveloping, feeling the whole body. It's just for a few moments. It's fine. In 10 minutes or so, you're going to put your attention into something else. That's fine. But just for the next 10 minutes, if you can stay really focused around the psychophysical being. And then within that sphere, that body sphere of awareness, tuning in with your mood. Okay. Sense of the heart, mind, chitta. And with this, when we start to move towards our mood or become aware of our mood, doing that with gentleness, with what we could call kindness, or what's the word? Patience. Even we could say tenderness. Okay, so we might not be feeling okay. So see if you can be with that not okayness as well. See if you can, as it were, hold that space. And then tuning in with the breath, remembering that the out breath is a relaxation or a releasing of the diaphragm, so we can, as it were, take that initiative or that dynamic of the diaphragm releasing into the whole of the body. So with each out breath, the whole body releasing. You're now being supported by the ground, by gravity, by the earth. And then if it's helpful, so do tune out of my voice if it's not helpful, but we're going to scan up through the body and tune in with the actual sense of what's going on in the different bits of the body. So we're going to start in the feet and the toes. Being aware of the big toe across to the little toe. Being aware of the ankles. Then being aware of the lower leg, the calf muscles, we call them. And the back of the knee, around the knee. And the thighs. So the initial section of the sequence, we were working a lot the thighs. Sure, we could have done more. Toning, lengthening, stretching in the standing position. So feeling into your thighs, around the thigh, the groins, outer thigh, back of the thigh. And then into the pelvis, taking awareness into that area, back of the pelvis, sacrum, the connection between the sacrum and the rest of the pelvis, sacroiliac as it's called, the pubic bone, as it were, the hip spaces, where the head of the femur sits into the hip socket, being aware of that, around that. You might not be aware of the form or details, but the sensations is what we're interested in. And a sense of softening, letting go. The buttock muscles, again, powerful muscles. I think the gluteus is the biggest muscle in the body. It's a short, compact, powerful muscle. And then into your lower back, the belly, start to explore your upper body into solar plexus area, across the lower ribs, the side body that we've been working so much today. This is mentioning the Gallbladder Meridian zigzags down through the side of the body into the hip socket. And taking awareness into the shoulders Come down the arms into your hands. See if you can soften the fingers, thumbs. And then finally coming up into the neck and the head. So we were paying attention to quite a bit to drishti, so it's the view, that's the gaze. So that affects the head position, the neck. Being aware of that area now. Neck, head, face, eyes. So curiously, the wood energy, gallbladder, liver, is very much connected with vision and a sense of vision of where we want to go. And see if you can soften, as it were, the eyes, around the eyes. Soften the scalp, the jaw, face muscles, around the ears. And then just with the last minute, I'd like you to just, if there's one area or one or two areas in your body which are calling your attention, see if you can gently envelop them in gentleness, softness. There might be one area of your body that's calling your attention. And being gentle with that area in your mind's eye. And then just in your own time now, we'll bring this session to a close. So do check in with yourself, no rush to the next thing. Do give yourself time to move to your right side. From your right side, coming up, moving on, okay? So thank you very much. And so next week will be Sadhita, all being well. And take care, have a good week. And farewell.